in Malachi. Where's Malachi? Or in another way to put it, Malachi, the Italian prophet. And if you want to know where Malachi is, go to Matthew and turn left. It's the last book of the Old Testament. And we're going to be in chapter 3. So, why am I preaching this message? Because I want to solicit funds. No. But I need to make that disclaimer because oftentimes that's our image of the church. We're there to solicit funds. We're not here to solicit funds, and I'm not preaching this message to try to inspire you to give to the church. I'm preaching this message so that you can not allow the enemy and the things of this world to control you financially. Because in doing so, we're dealing with a lot of heartache. How many guys are stressed over finances? Why? Amen. Well, we're going to get to that. First principle. Because we're holding on to it so tightly that when it leaves, we're thinking that we own it and it owns us. And then no wonder we miss out. We're missing out. Now, I need everybody to really calm down. I'm going to be a little preachy here today, but here's the reason why. Because last week, I was talking about the spiritual battle, and it busted loose here just before the end of the message because God was doing something powerful. And oftentimes, this is how we recognize great things of God. When the enemy raises his head up first. That's what happened last week. And the message was powerful, and it touched a lot of lives. So we need to make sure that we're prayed up, and we don't allow him room, okay? And that's why we need to make sure that we kind of pay attention to things because if we don't, this is what's happening. Other people are not going to hear. And if they don't hear, then it means that that word that got spread and touched them will be taken. We need to be careful, all right? So, we're going to talk about giving. So, right away, we're going to go to Malachi chapter 3, and we're going to read verses 8 through 12. Will a man rob God? Yet you have robbed me. But you say, in what way have we robbed you? In tithes and offerings. You are cursed with a curse, for you have robbed me, even this whole nation. Bring all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house, and try me now in this, says the Lord of hosts. If I will not open for you the windows of heaven and pour out for you such blessing that there will not be room enough to receive it. And I will rebuke the devourer for your sakes, so that he will not destroy the fruit of your ground, nor shall the vine fail to bear fruit for you in the field, says the Lord of hosts. And all nations will call you blessed, for you will be a delightful land, says the Lord of hosts. This is a promise. This is a promise for God to do something amazing with those people. And if that's God's promise, then you and I need to receive that promise and be obedient. The problem is that we don't believe it, and if we don't believe it, we can't receive it. That's true. We have to believe what God had promised. We have to believe what he says in order to receive it. And this area is the most important area to us, right? Why? Because if we really believe God, we'll put our money where our mouth is. That's true. It's first principle. It's not ours anyways. It's God's. He is the owner. We are the manager. He says, will you rob me? In this passage in verse 8. Why would we rob him? Because we're taking from God when we don't give him our share. You know what God says? Not 10%. We get to keep the 90. He gets the 10%. If it's his anyways, God has given us 90%. The government doesn't even do that with us. You know, too bad this wasn't April 15th, huh? But see, the important part is that God owns it. And here's the fruit of that. If God owns it, then he takes the responsibility to make it happen. Well, that's deep. You know why? I don't have to stress and worry about how the income's going to happen. God will take care of it. God will take care of it. You know, I could preach this one from my own life. How would you like to go and have a good, solid income to where you know you were getting the same paycheck over and over and over again, you never had to worry about it? And you gave up 2/3 of that. How would that make you feel? Yet, me and my wife took that jump. I gave 2/3 of my income to pastor full time. And I had a rumor going around Anza that there's no way somebody could do that. You're right. There is no way the natural man can do that. But the supernatural man trusts God, and he can leave it all behind because he realizes it's not his. And here's what God did. He more than made up the difference. Come on. I'm talking miraculously. Give up 2/3 of your income and see how it works out. But here's what God did. This is crazy. We had 2/3 less income, and we had no lifestyle change. Oh, it gets better. Matter of fact, this is crazy. We had more money in the bank afterwards than we did before. How is that possible? God did it. God did it. He does things that are supernatural. He somehow secured it supernaturally. Well, you say, well, that's a pretty amazing story. It was. But then we cut our income by half again this last year. We cut our income in two. And guess what? It's early in that. But we have just as much money in the bank account and no lifestyle change. How is that possible? Because it's his, and when you put it in his hands, what did Jesus do with the 2 fish and the 5 loaves? Multiplied it. And it came back supernatural. Now, believe me, I understand finances a lot more than people realize. I just don't like it. I really don't. So my wife takes the bill. So she worries about all that stuff, and I'm like oblivious. But the truth of the matter is that we've seen the faithfulness of God when we took our hands of ownership out of it. That principle is important. Because when you do that, then you give him the opportunity to make up the difference. I don't stress about finances. I don't. Why? Because they're not mine. I'm amazed that the God who owns everything gives me 90%. Really? Think about that. Oh, you think the Old Testament was rough? I got to give 10%. No. The New Testament, a lot of those people gave everything they had. See, when we put God first, then it says in Matthew 6:33, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, then everything shall be added unto us. What's more important, the finances that I thought I had to worry about and stress about, or the peace that I have with God, knowing that he's going to supply my need? That peace goes a long ways. I tell people this: you need to work to live. The Bible says that. But then when you understand that you're working and God's still providing that way, then here's the thing. Enjoy everything else. Don't make your lifestyle about the pursuit of money, because in doing so, we make it our God. And the fruit of understanding this principle is that when he's our God, money can't be our idol, and it won't control us. There it is. Man, that is powerful. Money won't control us. He will. Oh man, that's so peaceful. I feel somebody just like let the air out right now. You mean I don't have to worry about how it's going to come? No, God will supply. You just do your part. Now he asks us to work. He asks us to participate. But it's up to him. Now, and this aspect of God owning it doesn't just apply to money. It applies to other principles as well. You know, God owns your kids. They're his. Do you know the children of Israel, the firstborn was the God's? They had to redeem it. Why is that important? Because if they're God's, guess what? He bears the stress to make everything work out in their lives, and we don't have to. Oh. If they're God's, then I'm going to be faithful And I'm going to steward or manage what he's given me. So I don't have time to myself. My kids are in need. They're God's, so I better answer to him. So I'm going to sacrifice my will for God's. And I'm going to pour into my kids because it's more about God and them than it is about me. Ooh. Think of the fruit that's in that one aspect. I'm stewarding my kids. I'm stewarding them. I'm managing God's supply, right? So then if I don't feel like it, I don't have the luxury of taking time for me. I'm still going to pour into them. If you have a wayward kid, this is true. Thank you, Jesus. If you have a wayward kid, then the promises of God come to pass that he will take care and he will bring them back. So I don't have to live my life in that worry or control over that doubt and fear. You see how this works? You see how powerful it is when you place him up? He's going to hold on to me. He's going to bring it to pass. And I don't have to carry the load. I don't have to bear this weight. Man, what's more important? Spending time with your kids, stewarding them, or owning your finances and stress and worry about it? This is the reality, and this is why God asks us to do things according to his plan. And here's why I'm preaching this. I'm tired of seeing people get ripped off. Your life is getting ripped off by the enemy that's causing all that doubt. And so you're holding on to it. You ever hold on to water? Or air? It's like grasping for the wind, Solomon said. That's what happens when we take ownership. You ever had a job where you made plenty of money, but you couldn't find a way to show it? Because you couldn't hold on to it? Come on. It was coming in, but you couldn't understand how it was going out. Well, that's our next principle. I love these verses. Psalm 24:1. The earth is the Lord and all it contains, the world and those who dwell in it. Psalm 50:10. For every beast of the forest is mine, the cattle on 1,000 hills. Whew. I'm a cow man, so that would be pretty cool. Haggai 2:8. The silver is mine and the gold is mine, declares the Lord of hosts. Ezekiel 18:4. Behold, all souls are mine. Ooh, speaking of your family. The soul of the Father as well as the soul of the Son is mine. The soul who sins will die. Ooh, aren't you glad that God holds it, not you? Then quit trying to take ownership of it and make it happen. The parable of the talents, the other one will be there. The parable of the talents encourages us to invest what we have been given. Matthew 25:14 through 30. So, the parable of the talents, they were given money to invest. Once again, it's a picture of the owner and the steward. If they did not invest what they had been given, that servant was cast out into outer darkness. Why? Because he was wicked, not doing what his master said. And he was given this in order to give it out and to invest. So the key principle of this is God didn't tell you to hold on to it. God told you to give it away. And when we give it away, it's the opportunity to see his kingdom expand and his purpose be made known. And here's the fruit. That when you understand it's God's and you look to give it away, that allows you to be a steward of more than what you currently have. This principle is huge. It's huge because now I'm a good steward. He can trust me with more. So, why am I looking at this? Because you've been given something. And here's the point. You can't give what you don't have. You know why some people don't give anything? Because they don't think they have anything to give. Or their standard of giving is not real. They think that because other people have more to give, they don't have the same as other people, they can't give. The Bible never asks you to give what you don't have. The parable of the talent says, give what you do. If you have $5 and you're spending that $5 on a lottery ticket when you could be giving it to the tithe, what do you think is going to mean more to your life? Or you have the opportunity to give to God, but you're going down to the casino. Come on, let's preach it a little bit. Let's stomp on some toes. Yeah, and you're wondering why you're broke and why you can't hold on to any finances. It's because you're taking control and you're not even investing what you've been given. When Cindy and I took over the church, This was a different church. We actually took over a church, and then we started a new one. When we took over the church at that point, which was Emmanuel, man, they wanted to give me a housing allowance. They said, you need to take this. So I did. So I was making more money. For the first 3-4 months, we couldn't hold on to nothing. It was literally like holding on to water or wind. It's like, what happened? We were making more money and had less money to show for it. And we couldn't understand why until we started talking and we didn't adjust our tithing. We didn't adjust our tithing to reflect that we were given more, so we should give more. And because of that, we took ownership of it. And then the next slide, the devourer came. We couldn't answer that. All of a sudden, we adjusted our tithing and our finances stabilized. I can't tell you how many people in this congregation have experienced the same thing in their life. They adjusted their tithing and their income stabilized. And guess what? Not only did their income stabilize, their whole life stabilized. There's a reason why that is. So, God asks you to invest what you have. If you have $10, you invest $10. If you have $2, you invest $2. If you have $100, you invest that. He doesn't ask you to invest what you don't have. And so many people put this off, and because they don't invest what they do have, guess what? They have nothing to show for it. It's like taxes. You have nothing to show for it. It gets eaten up. How many guys have done that? I'll tell you what was really a problem. Anytime I worked, when I was working as a lineman, over 10 hours of overtime. I made more money doing straight time than I did working overtime, getting paid time and a half if I passed the 10-hour mark. Because then, all of a sudden, the taxes increased, and I had less money to show for it. If you don't invest back into the kingdom of God, then you're allowing all that opportunity to come in and actually take away. And then here's the thing. You're going to try to hold on to everything. This, if you look at any kind of blog or video on those who are financially stable, those who actually got rich, they tell you the same thing. You cannot be in fear of investment. You cannot fear investment. You can't fear failure, because when you fear failure, you're going to hold on to it. And when you hold on to it, guess what? You can never make those gains. It's the same thing in the principle of God. Where do you think it came from? If you hold on to it as an owner and not invest it, then guess what? You can never make those gains. And if you realize that it's His in the first place, then you'll step up and you'll quit trying to hold on. How many guys have ever tried to hold on to money and like, again, once again, it's like holding on to water or air. I'm telling you what, it's not, have you guys ever seen, money have legs? It's like, man, I said it right there. What happened? Right? When we live in that fear, we can never live in that faith, and we can never experience the gains or the blessings that come about. This is true. This is true. So you can't live in that fear. You have to invest. I'd rather invest in the kingdom. Not only does He supply my need now, but there's rewards for all eternity. That's huge. So, what am I going to do? I'm going to invest. I'm going to give back. Where should I give? I believe you should start giving at the local church. Why? Because if other things happen out of that, God will meet your needs, but it's the local church that changed the world. And then you go on from there. Then you give to missions, and then you give to help other people. But you start at the local church. And why I mean the local church is you start by giving to God through the local church. It's not the church that holds your finances, it's Him. And we pray about it, and we try to be very responsible in the things that we have. Very responsible. It's important. It's really important. Whew. What about investment? Well, I like this investment, don't you? This woman who didn't have anything, she gave everything she had. Well, let's talk about that. In the temple, they were all about the praise of one another for giving extravagant gifts over to the temple and to be used by the Lord. The priests would actually puff themselves up. Look what I gave. That's why Jesus said in Matthew 6, don't be like the Pharisees announcing what you gave in public. Yet, here comes this woman who didn't have anything but the smallest pieces of value. And she gave it. And Jesus stops everything and she goes, you might notice this extravagant gift. I noticed this person because she gave everything. If God is really that valuable to you, then you won't hold on to it. You'll invest it. And you're not going to invest a little. You're going to invest it all. Guess what? We never lose when we put it in His hands. That's the life from the enemy. That's the life from the enemy. I've known this several times. I've seen people, well, this is my last money, but I'm going to give it to God. And I've watched God open the bank accounts and pour out blessings they couldn't contain. And I can't tell you how many times. I know a guy who, and he's in this fellowship, he basically went from having nothing and working in the fields and then working at the recycling place, but still was faithful to tithe, knowing that God was going to open the door. Well, about 3 months ago, they just bought their house. Why? He firmly believes it's because he was faithful to tithe. I know another guy who used to come to this church who lives in Arizona. Man, I'm telling you what, the heavens open up and he gets blessings that can't be contained. One time he tells me, he goes, yeah, I did this work and this guy couldn't pay me, so he gave me the stuff in the storage container, and he opens it up and there's this big Kubota tractor. $40,000 tractor. How does he equate it? God. I'm faithful to tithe and look what God does. Like this guy would fall into stuff. Oh, guess what I'm doing now? I got a landscaping company in Phoenix. What? Because of his faithfulness to put it in God's hands, God was faithful to multiply it. That's powerful. All right. He will rebuke the devourer for our sakes. Why can't we hold on to it? Because there's natural things that always put pressure on us to, or influence us to take away our financial resources. But I also believe that there's a spiritual attack on our financial resources. Because if the enemy can get us trying to hold on to it like we own it, then we won't invest it in the kingdom, and the kingdom of God doesn't go out like we could if we invest. And he diminishes that opportunity. And if we put it in God's hands and live by his principles, then this is what happens. He rebukes, or he stops the devourer from accessing that aspect of our lives. That's huge. That's big. Now, if I tithe, if I do what God tells me, he will stop the devourer from having access to it. That's big. That's big. We live in a culture where the devourer's taking everything. Oh, it might not seem demonic. It might just be because we have the wrong desires. Who's helping influence those desires? Instead of buying necessities, I'm buying scratchers. I'm going to casino instead of making sure my rent's paid. Well, you don't understand. I win my rent. Yeah, 1 out of 10. The rest of the time, you ask for other people to help you? Come on. Sorry. Let's put it out there. And then it comes in the form of, I want. The enemy works in all that want and that false desires. And so then we're spending money on everything that we see. I want. This is going to fix me. This is going to help. And then we can't pay for it, or it breaks and falls apart, and we wonder why we're not fulfilled with the thing we bought. And then pretty soon we're upset with God because our lives are not ending up the way we thought it would. And then pretty soon we're in doubt and we're in fear and we're in a struggle. And then we bring that stuff home after a bad day at work. And then we take it out on our wives and our kids. And then we think it's just a physical issue. And the devil's laughing the whole time because he's tearing us apart. Or we're living in a culture in the United States of America where people won't serve God because they're too busy serving themselves because of all their wants and all their desires. And then pretty soon now The enemy is in our schools. The enemy's in our governments. The enemy's all over the place wreaking havoc because we have allowed him there. Oh, you thought this is just about giving money. No. This is the battle over your heart. The devourer's coming. And if I put it in God's hands, he can't touch it. If I realize it's God's and I place it in his hands, I don't have him accessing that aspect of my life anymore. That's why this is important. It's really important when we don't allow him that access. Do you know what it's like seeing so many people give up their lives to the enemy in this world because of the financial strongholds they've occurred, trying to take ownership and allowing their own desires to guide them instead of God's desires, God's will? When people come and they have to ask for food, and they realize, and they don't like doing that, but they realize the reason why they have to ask for food is because they listened to the wrong voice and they invested in the wrong thing. Now, there's true needs out there, and don't get me wrong, I'm all for meeting true needs, but we're meeting a lot of wants that continue to stir up in more wants, and then pretty soon there's nothing to stand on because everything else has been taken away. Come on, this is real and true, huh? How many guys are living in that misery because the devourer has access to your finances because you've taken ownership? Man, I can just feel the heaviness right there. What would you do if you didn't have to worry about all that? Probably invest wisely. Probably have joy in what you have. Probably have joy in what you have, realizing that he's given you enough. Being thankful. How else does the enemy come? It says the servant is slave to the lender. The borrower is slave to the lender. You mean every time that I go to the system and I borrow from it, whether it's credit cards or whether it's some sort of loan, you mean I become a slave to that? You mean how do I fight that? Giving it to God and then doing what he says will fight that, because the Lord says that if you don't have money for it, then you shouldn't buy it. Now, I'm guilty of that, and we all need to take loans for various reasons. But I'm telling you, we need to be careful, and we need to start doing what God intends us to do, and we need to put it in his hands so we don't have this access problem of the enemy coming and taking it. Because every time he takes it, you know what happens? It just stirs up fear in us. And then you know how the fear is manifested? Stress. Anger. Ready? Disappointment. God said he will supply all our need. If we put it in his hands, he'll supply all our need. He'll rebuke the devourer. I love this principle. It comes from Robert Morris in The Blessed Life. And he said, since our giving is based on our obedience to God, this is paraphrased, and not on needs, we shouldn't be manipulated to give. Obedience is better than sacrifice. Oh, this is great. This is great. People approach you with needs. You can only give if God tells you to give. So that no matter how hard they give you a sob story, it shouldn't manipulate you if God told you not to give to them. Ooh, that's great. How many guys are getting manipulated all the time to give here, to give there? This aspect keeps us from being manipulated, whether it's by people in the church, whether it's by people in this valley, whether it's by our own children. God didn't tell me to give to you on this, so I'm sorry. You can't manipulate me by your tears. Ooh, that's great, isn't it? How many of us put ourselves in debt over our children and buy them something that they don't even appreciate, and then pretty soon you're sad and you're disappointed that you bought it for them? They didn't need it, but you got manipulated. The reason why Cindy and I couldn't hold on to money, this is the truth, it's because we didn't adjust our tithe. Here's how the devourer came. He came in the form of church people that said needed a handout every week, and we thought it was our job to give it to them. I'm sorry, that's the truth. Guess what? You know why I usually don't carry cash on me? So then when people come and say, do you have any money? I can honestly say, no, I don't have any cash. And you know why it's a blessing to follow this format? It's because I'm not going to allow their need to manipulate me. So I can walk in freedom. Woo! How cool is that? I'm only give if God tells me to give. You can't manipulate me with your sob story. I like that. Some of you guys are going, this is good. Because I got people around me all the time. It's like, here, I need 20 for this and 100 for that. And then pretty soon I'm giving it, and they got money and I don't. You guys ever went through that? They got money and you don't. Hey, God is so faithful, but we need to do it His way. Well, what if they have a true need and it's really on my heart? Well, God placed it on your heart. Meet that need. But if He didn't, don't allow their need to dictate what you do. Here's why. One time, Cindy and I were driving, and there's this old guy that usually lived by us, and we give him rides into town. And one Sunday, it was right before church, I got ready to go pick him up, and God told me no. I picked him up the whole time. God told me no. So I didn't pick him up. I drove on. And as I drove on, I felt so bad. Because I thought, well, I just, for some reason, I was being selfish. And I was thinking it was God, and it wasn't. You guys ever had those doubts in your mind? Is this God or is it not, So I drove by, and the whole time in church, I couldn't get that out of my head. So I didn't have any enjoyment in church because, I felt like a heel for not picking him up. But here's what happened. After church, somebody came to me and goes, so-and-so? By the way, this man didn't come to church. I said, yeah. He goes, I picked him up and I was able to help him and do something for him. You know why God had me not drive past him? It's because He was bringing somebody else to meet that need in a manner that I couldn't. So if I live my life in obedience to Him, the needs of other people aren't going to drive my life, and I can't be manipulated by them. I'm directed by obedience to God. You know how freeing that is? Man, that was great. Well, if I take the same thing with money, finances, it's His. So if it's His, then I need to do what He tells me to do with it. And if He didn't tell me to invest in that, then I'm not going to. And no matter what kind of story somebody gives me or how I feel manipulated, it won't direct me. Because if I give into that, then I'll regret doing it. And then here's the key. Listen. Then I'm going to have a hardened heart to give to other people that I should be given to because of my bad experience when I didn't listen to God. That's true. So somebody who God tells me to give, I'll reject it because I'm hurt and hardened over it because I gave when I wasn't supposed to give, and I was manipulated, and it caused anger and bitterness. You see why this is so important? We need to have this heart of giving. But if it's controlled or manipulated, it's going to mess with our lives. Therefore, whoever hears these sayings of mine and does them, I will liken to a wise man who built his house on the rock. And does them. He didn't say just hear. He said hear and do. So if it's God and He tells me what to do, then not only do I need to acknowledge that He told me, I need to follow through with action. Hell is paved with good intentions. A lot of people say they're going to do something, and I was reading in 2 Corinthians on this very same process. In 2 Corinthians, Paul's talking about the Macedonians and how they were given. And then he turns to the Corinthian church and he says, and you guys said that you're going to give extravagantly, and yet, I haven't seen it yet. You're talking without any action. So then he's even willing to send a delegate to them so they make sure that their gift comes through and they're not talking without following through. Ooh, it wasn't the intent. It was the action that he's praising. And he's trying to get them to correct. Guys, it doesn't matter how much we're going to say we're going to give. if we don't follow through with action, then we just become a liar. This is really true. If I look at it, Jesus said, you know what? It's better not to promise and do it than to promise and not do it. True, true, true. All right. Giving prevents us from limiting our receiving because we have limited capacity. I'll get to our memory verse in a second. So you know why I give? Because as I give, I just open up my capacity to steward more. If I don't give, guess what? I'm closing off my capacity. I can't receive more because there's no more room. There's a saturation effect. We can only hold so much. If I'm carrying, I hate when those things do it. It'll go. If I'm carrying a lot of stuff, right? No matter how good or how good the gift is somebody wants to give me, I can't receive it until I put down or give away what I'm carrying. Yeah, what are we carrying? We're carrying all the garbage of this world, and the enemy's putting more and more and more, and we're bogged down to where we can't even walk. And God says, here, if you just give me access to it, I can give you something better. But we can't receive it until we put down what we're carrying so we can receive it. And then as we receive it, we look for somebody to give it to. And as we give it to them, now we're opened up to receive more. And it's He's not contained. He's not stopped. He begins a movement. He completes the movement. So as we obey God, then we line up our lives where that flow can happen. And as we get it, we can pass it on more. Brothers and sisters, start living in the reality that Christ is more and He has so much for you to give. If you only realize that, your life will take on more meaning. Not only are you living what you can give, I'm wound up. You're limiting your value. You're limiting your value. Trying to hold hostage things that were never yours. You know what it takes to give? Realizing there's greater value in passing it on. Also, realizing that you have enough value that you have something to give in your own life. Oh, man. You have enough value because it was God-given, so now you have something to give away. Too many times we don't understand that value, so we hold on to our lives thinking we had nothing of value to give. Oh. You were born with value. And then when you were redeemed, you were given great value. You know what it says of the Macedonians? They first gave of themselves. You wonder why it seems like we're limiting God in our life? Because we're limiting the flow of the Holy Spirit because we're not giving it away. And that applies financially. That applies to any kind of work or service. And that applies to your heart and your love. That applies all aspects of giving. Once you realize you have value and you have something to give, then when you give it, you just open up your life to receive more. You know, I'm going to tell you, this blows me away. You know, we don't like to take special offerings here. This is a really good illustration. You know why? Because we watch so many people that don't really have it give everything they have. And we don't want to ever take advantage of that. There's people that's ushered and done the collection that's come back in tears over what they saw people willing to do for other people. This is the right way to think, because as we do that, guess what? We're opening up our lives to steward more, and we're not going to let money hold on to us any longer, because this is not ours. You know, my life is not mine. It's His. You know, when I invest it, I get so much more in return. You know, when I love our small groups. Here's why. Our small groups are discussion groups. So, yes, we have topics. We're talking about the Bible. And then all of a sudden, we open it up for questions or comments. And we go around the room. And it's like, shut your mouth. Because you hear the response of other people that the world defines of having no value. And they have so much to give. And I get filled up just by showing up. Just think if those people could truly understand what they actually have Maybe they'll give away more so that they can steward more, and maybe their whole lives would be transformed from value. God's value. You know what the enemy is always wanting to do? Diminish God's image or God's value in people. Is that not true? Here's our memory verse. Oh, sorry. That's later. I switched these yesterday. I forgot. Proverbs 3:9-10. Honor the Lord with your wealth, then your barns will be filled with plenty, and your vats will be bursting with wine. Sounds like the land flowing with milk and honey that he promised them. You know the promised land that he was giving them, the nation of Israel? They were going to go into the land and get houses they never built. Get vineyards they never planted. And all they had to do is believe God and go into the land and fight for it. Fight for the promises of God as their reality. And it would have been given to them. But you know what they did? They doubted. And you know what they did in their doubt? They chose to walk in the desert. And God allowed them to walk in the desert until every single person except for 2 died. Because he didn't want their unbelief to dwell in the land. Boom. This is why this matters. The whole crux of the message is tied into this statement. Is it our money that we're talking about? Well, what does money represent? It represents our time and our effort. So when we're getting ripped off financially, you know what we're really getting ripped off? Is our time and our effort and who we are. And how much disappointment does that bring into our lives? Come on. It's not finances. America just puts up the dollar bill and we think it's the dollar bill. That's not the reality of what we're given. We're given our time. We're given our effort. And that's what we get paid for. So as we're not giving it to God, guess what? We're allowing the enemy not just to take our finances, to take our time, to take our effort, and to take our heart. He's taking everything in us because of that aspect. And we're allowing him because we think it's ours and not God's, and we're holding on to it by fear instead of investing it by faith. And guess what? We're allowing that access so he can come and wreak havoc in our lives and who we are. This is more than money. This is who you are that the battle's on. Because if he can cause doubt in those areas, then he's taking away your hard work and effort. Here's the truth. For you workaholics, the ones who are chasing the dollar almighty, here's the problem. You're putting your energy and effort into something that's financial, but it's all your energy and effort into it. It becomes your God. Then when it doesn't work out the way you want it, you're disappointed. And the whole time when people retire, you never hear them say, I wish I would have spent more time at work. So what are we really sacrificing here? You know what the most precious commodity we have in this world is? Time. You know why we need to work? In order to supply those needs so we can spend the best quality time with God and with our family. I don't wish I would have spent more time at work. I wish I would have spent more time being a dad and a father. I mean, a father and a husband. I look back and I still have regrets. Big regrets. Because I thought I could get it by pursuing money or pursuing fame and fortune as far as having a position. And you know what all it did? It didn't give me life. It took it away. It's taking it away. And yet we're holding on to finances like it's a thing. And yet, and the harder we hold on to it, the more life it takes away from us. If we could just understand it as his, and we put it in his hands, he multiplies it. He doesn't take it away. How does he multiply it? He multiplies it in peace. Who needs peace in their life? He multiplies it in love. He multiplies it in security. He multiplies it in hope. And then I'm focused not on finances, I'm doing my part, giving it to God, I can focus more on stewarding my family, my time with them. Do you know your kids need you more than you realize? I didn't want to spend more time at work. But you know why I had to spend more time at work? Because I didn't give it to God. I started adjusting my income to my spending, or actually the opposite. I adjusted my spending to my income, and then I became a slave to the lender. I became a slave to the system, and this system dictated to me my joy and peace and happiness. I know this we all tied in here, but I think it's time to re-examine this, because when you're allowing the enemy to come and he's wreaking havoc on your finances, it's not just your finances, brothers and sisters, it's your life. It's your life. Men, you working men, I honor you and I just respect you so much, because I do know what it's like to have to get up when you don't want to and do things you don't want to do to make sure your family has what they need. But I also want you to know, don't get caught up in that system, because it'll take you further and further and further away from where you need to be. Ladies, I'm going to share this, and I don't care if it's not politically correct or not. Your best job is raising your kids. That's the best you can do, and if that's what you're doing, I honor you. Even though you might not feel like you're doing it good enough, you're still there. Thank you. That's why it's important that we understand this, because how many of the women in our country are sacrificing their best job to go to work to chase what? Oh, what's it doing to our kids? You can feel how the enemy is gaining ground even as we're speaking. And why? Why does all this matter? It's because your heart is attached to your giving. I used to think, okay, if I can get your heart into giving, or heart into something, then your giving will follow. It's not true. It's the opposite. If you put your giving into something, your heart will follow. Jesus said, where your giving was, your heart will be. You know what we've discovered in this church? Anytime there's something to go do, like a retreat or everything, we usually have people sponsor other people. But if those people that get sponsored don't have any kind of financial investment, their heart's not in it. Do you know that to be true? Where you give, your heart will be. Why? Because it's not just your money, it's your time and effort that you're putting into it. We were at school one time and they're saying, well, I don't know what the parents aren't coming and they're not getting involved, and how come we're having people stay after hours for detention and all that. And they hit me, boom, start charging them for it. They'll be there. Guaranteed. I know people had their kids in private school, and you know how they got their attention when their kids got in trouble? They had to financially step up. They got their heart into it when they financially stepped up, right? Amen. So if that's true of that, isn't it also true in God's house? How can you be in love with God if you're not giving? And you know how you start that process? By waiting for your heart to change? No. By changing your action, your heart will follow that one. Start giving now and your heart will change. Oh, it doesn't matter if you don't have a bunch of money. You're worried about how you're going to pay your bills. Hey, I didn't understand how it was going to work out for me, but it did. I don't know how my salvation works, but it does. If you do it God's way, you can expect God's results. Why isn't God close to you? How many of you guys feel that way right now? Why isn't he close to me, right? Well, the truth of the matter is, it's not God's problem. You're not close to God because of your choice. That's the truth and reality of it, right? How much of that is because I'm not given to him? Because I'm not given, my heart's not there. I'm not given my time. I'm not given his finances. I'm not giving my best effort. So if that's true, then how can you expect God to be close to you when you're not close to him? Your heart's far from God. And he even declares, test me in this. Now, I'm not telling you that you're going to give to get. I think that's a lie from the enemy. That's manipulation. That's manipulation. But I tell you that you need to give to give. You need to give because you know that it's God's, and you know that as you give it to him, he takes care of your needs, and you can be closer to him. And the closer you are to him, the more that you have peace, the more you have blessing. And then you can freely give that to other people, and you can't outgive God. The more you give, the more you receive, the more you pass on. I'm telling you what, it's incredible when you place your life in this system instead of the one of the world's. The one of the world's always taking us back, holding us down. The one of God is lifting us up. As we see other people lifted up, this is as we lift up other people, we lift up ourselves. As we bring down other people, here's the lie. We bring down ourselves, and that's a false statement from the world that says that in order to get up in life, in order to get ahead in life, we have to bring others down. We live that way, huh? That's a lie. When we bring other people down, it brings us down with them. We lift up God, and we lift up others. We lift up ourselves along with them. When we give, what are we doing? We're lifting up God, and we're lifting up others. Guess what we're lifting up? And if we're limiting God's access to our finances, then guess what? We're allowing the enemy to come in and control that, or influence it, at least. Then guess what? When it doesn't go our way, what's it doing to our heart? The key to being close to God is to what? Give. He said, where you give, your heart will be. So, memory verse, Luke 6:38. Give, and it will. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over will be put into your bosom. For with the same measure that you use, it will be measured back to you. Okay. There's two aspects to giving. One, I give because God tells me to give, and I give because it's his. And if you're on the other end of that, where you're being given to, here's what I want you to do. I want you to focus on this aspect. That if I'm a good receiver, it means that I'm helping them be a good giver. If I'm receiving, that means I'm helping somebody be a good giver unto the Lord. Isn't that powerful? So then me and Cindy went on vacation one time, and we went with this generous man. He wouldn't let us take care of anything. And we used to have some really close friends. And we did a lot of things for him. And it was great until we went out to eat and the check came. And then I'm telling you what, it was almost a knockout, drag out every time. Who was going to get the check? Well, when we went on that vacation, I was struggling by his generosity because it's hard to be humble sometimes. You don't want to receive. And the Lord hit me over the head with a 2x4. Whack! And he told me this. You be a generous receiver so he can continue to be a generous giver. Well, how can I be a generous receiver, Lord? And here's the point. You can be a generous receiver if what you have you look to give away. Holds. And then, guess what? It wasn't about me. It wasn't about me. I could receive, because then what I was trying to do, I was trying to give back to the guy secretly so he didn't even know about it, or find somebody else to give it to, so then I wasn't consumed with me. Don't you think that's a godly principle? Come on, you want a key to freedom? It's not about you, baby. It's about him. And now I'm free to receive because I'm looking to give it out. Now I can receive more because I'm looking to give it out. And I'm not allowing the enemy to have heart. Ooh, look at the fruit in that. Fruit. I'm not directed by money. Oh man, the bill collector's coming. Okay, God, how are you going to take care of that one? Okay. Oh, I have $5. Who can I give this to? Guess what? He supplies my need. So a little breakdown. What is this? This is our church website. This is a poor picture, but I took it off my phone this morning. I was hoping to have the giving section done this week, but I have to call them Monday. We have to get some things done between the bank accounts and all that. Why are we doing this? Not so that Living Hope can get money for Living Hope, so Living Hope can be a better steward. Better steward of those who can give, and better stewards of those who could receive. In the giving, what do we do with it? We use it to have this building. We use it for ministry. You know what else we use a lot of the giving to? Missions. I had somebody from another church ask me Thursday, we don't sponsor anything. You sponsor everything. This is what I told him. Oh, this is a proud moment. This is proud Papa Kevin's moment. Ready? I said, I want you to see all those people because they're the reasons why we give so much, not me. Because as we steward money, we steward people, guess what? We can receive, we can give, so it opens us up to receive more. Here's why it's so important that we give. That means that more people want to give, and the people that receive can give away. Guess what? This is going to happen. This work's going to get multiplied. And as it gets multiplied, guess what you get to do? You get to see God bring more blessings, and you get to see the enemy's hands off your stuff. That's powerful. So all you have to do is you see that. It'll link you, and then hopefully this week, to the section on giving. And what we're hoping is that more people will give online financially to this work so that we can see them get blessed. How do I limit the enemy's influence in your life? Not by manipulating you to give, brothers and sisters. By teaching you the principles of giving so that when you get it out of your hands, it just opens you up to receive more and it won't be taken away. That's huge. That's great. So, livinghope.com. And I also need everybody that's able to go online and give us a review, 5-star review, because that's going to access more people to the website, which we believe is going to help transform lives. There's a lot of people that watch that aren't from Anza. And so if you can go on livinghope.com and give a 5-star review, we would really appreciate it. And we're looking to multiply this work. That's how I get blessed. We could take all this in and we can make it a Pastor Kevin fun. And guess what? Well, this is cool. This is really cool. Humor me for a second. And I'll have we won't have a Mercedes or a luxury car out here. I'm sorry. I'm going to have a big truck. Anyways. Big truck lifted. It says Jesus Freak on it. Anyways. Or we can use it to further the ministry and the people that are so special and see them rise to the occasion, which is going to further the ministry of more people that rises to the occasion. And then pretty soon, I can't wait to give everything away. I can't wait for more people to taste and see that our God is a good God. That's the truth. So with that, if I can have our ushers stand up. And with the focus on giving, we're going to go to the next aspect of it. And that is, you guys can repeat after me. God is faithful to supply. We should be faithful to give. We are believing for more resources to steward, to supply a building and more ministry. We bless you, Lord, for the outcome. Father, we just thank you, Lord, so much for this message. We thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to give. I pray that you would take this, multiply the storehouses. May you be glorified. May you cut off the enemy's access, Lord, to that area of our lives. Because it's more than just finances. It's who we are. It's where our heart lies. And we pray, God, that there's transformation. May you be lifted up and glorified in Jesus' name. Amen. If I can have Steve and Lisa come up. And as we're taking up our tithe, I'm going to just share a couple things.